You're listening to Book Banter with Diane Burkhart, your book talk podcast. Join me every Wednesday for real conversations with authors and publishing insiders, where you get to connect with the humans behind the books you love. Let's get on with our show today. Hello, my happy people. Today is April 22nd, 2026, and today we have a deeply unsettling question to explore. What would you do if you could hear what other people were thinking all the time and you couldn't turn it off? Then one day, one of those voices starts screaming for help, but it's all in your own head. Would you trust it or start questioning your sanity? We delve into this and so much more with today's multi-award-winning author. So without further ado, please welcome to Book Banter with Diane Burkhart, D.I. Jolly. The way that I like to start these shows out is just to have my guest tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hello, my name is D.I. Jolly. I'm from South Africa, but I live in Berlin. I'm an author and a video game writer. I have 12 books published at the moment. I've got 3 more sitting on a shelf. I've worked on a number of video games, only one of which has been released, but that's still very cool for me. In Berlin, for the last 10 years, I've also hosted a writing event called Poetry Club, and for that, I have written over 300 short stories in the last 10 years.
That's incredible.
Practice makes perfect.
Well, and I have to tell you that one of the things that I did in preparation, I felt it was necessary. The first thing I did when I got up this morning was I played several games of Fortnite. It just seemed like good preparation.
You might be a little disappointed to know I've never played Fortnite.
I like it because of the storyline through it. I love this. It's like whenever you were mentioning the video game that got you interested in being a writer, I love those kinds of games. So one that you have to investigate, that you have to do puzzles to advance your story. I love those.
No. I mean, the old school Sierra games were the point and click adventures, Sierra and Lucas games, which were then Monkey Island and Sam & Max. No action, no running around, just pure story and puzzle solving. That very much fits my headspace.
Oh, yeah, me too. I mean, so I can understand how that could be an inspiration for where you wanted to go with your career. But that isn't really how you started your career, though.
No, but I mean, it very much was the inspiration because at 7 or 8 years old, I went, I want to be him. And of course, your parents are like, well, do you want like merch with the face on? Do you want things? I'm like, no. I want a full-length duster. I want white t-shirts and blue jeans because that's how he dresses. I don't want to, Batman doesn't wear Batman t-shirts. He dresses like Batman.
Exactly.
I don't want a Gabriel Knight t-shirt. I want to be Gabriel Knight. So I want to try and write things and I want to dress like him. And I'm definitely going to move to New Orleans one day.
So whenever you started planning your schoolwork to go towards your goals, what did you focus on?
Yeah, fun story. My family's business went out of business just as I turned 16, and I was expelled because we couldn't afford school fees. I never finished high school.
Wow.
It's now illegal to do to students what was done to me. You're no longer allowed to punish the child for sort of problems that the family's going through. The school is supposed to find a solution. I just got expelled.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even have I think in the United States it's a GED, like a standard. You're now at a level where you technically can leave school. I was just old enough because I just turned 16.
So what did you do after that?
I lied about my age and I got a job working in a restaurant because my brother was older than me and I knew a bunch of my brother's friends. And they were getting into restaurants as one does just after leaving high school. So we all lied about my age to say I was 18 because you have to be 18 to serve alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So I lied about my age and got a job in a restaurant and just started working because I always wanted to do the writing thing. That was always something I did on the side anyway. And I just kept that going until the day I kind of finished a book, which was when I was 19.
So then what led to you moving around to different countries?
My father was English, so at one point I went and lived with him for a bit to try and go to college in the UK, where I did courses in art and computers, but mostly I learned that I didn't want to be an artist or work in IT.
Hmm.
And then kind of I liked traveling. I took the idea of going out and sort of finding yourself literally. So I kept going. I had the opportunity to travel because I was working and you can work in service anywhere. So whenever I had the idea or the opportunity, I sort of jumped on a plane and went on the next adventure. Ended up living in 7 different countries.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like I've only lived in three, so so the thought of living in seven is just amazing. I love going to different countries and spending extended amounts of time there because you learn so much more when you're immersed in a culture than when you just visit a culture.
Yeah, you need a couple of months to sort of not just figure out where the restaurants are, but which ones you actually like,
Hmm.
how to get around without needing to look at a map. Make actual friends that if you bump into, it's not like, oh yeah, I remember you from the last time. It's like, oh hey, Jolly.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think that this experience of, for one thing, working in a service industry, you meet so many people that way. You get ideas for so many characters by all of the people that you have to deal with. Plus, you're doing it in different countries. Do you think that that really gives you a better breadth of information for creating your worlds?
I think it definitely helps with sort of the realization that some people are cliches, but most people are really just people.
Hmm.
And it really doesn't matter where somebody is from. There is a version of your favorite person in every culture everywhere. Like background and culture sort of informs sort of the starting blocks of somebody, but everybody has the potential to grow into anybody else or whoever they want to be. And it takes away that idea of the cultural stereotype, the background of like, oh, you're from here, therefore you're like this.
Hmm.
And the more people you meet, the more you realize that everyone is just someone.
So, what brought you to Berlin?
I was technically based in England, and I don't like England very much. And I was living in a small town, which didn't help. And the company I was working for at the time, which is a giant company, which I'm not going to give the name of
Hmm.
because they don't need advertising, sent me to Krakow in Poland for 6 months to help set up a new office there. And I remembered how much I loved living in the city.
Hmm.
And then they fumbled that so badly that sort of 2 weeks before I'd been told I was doing a great job and I should expect to stay for a long time. And then I got a phone call one morning going, oh, no, you're actually not allowed to be based in the UK and live in Poland for longer than 6 months. Otherwise, you have to pay taxes in both countries. So you need to leave today.
Oh, wow.
And I went, you told me to expect to stay for a long time. And they're like, yeah, we're booking you a flight. You need to leave the office, go back to your hotel, pack up and go.
Oh, my
I'm like,
God.
I have a girlfriend. And they're like, yeah, you should probably call her. I'm like, you what? And then
Wow.
I wasn't allowed back in the country for 6 months.
Ugh.
So I got back and I went, I don't like this country. I don't like this company very much. So I resigned the day I
Hmm.
got back, sort of as soon as I went back into the office. And then I wrestled with the idea of what do I do now? And as much as Krakow was this thing that I'd really enjoyed, I'd been there for 6 months. Even the relationship was very new. And it was more the toy that had been taken away from me rather than the thing I really wanted.
Hmm.
And I've had friends in Berlin since I was 18. Every time I'd been to Berlin, I'd had a great time. It always felt very familiar. It felt very like a place I could live. And I wanted to live in a city where you can get away with English a lot more. There's more opportunities for English speaking jobs, thinking practically. So I was about to turn 30 and decided that if not now, then when, and sold everything I had. And within 4 weeks was in Berlin.
Do you still have family in South Africa?
Yeah, my mom and one of my sisters and a nephew and a cousin or 5.
That's actually one of the places on our bucket list. That's where we want to go next.
South Africa is beautiful. Everyone should go to South Africa. I'd go more often. It's just really, really, really far away.
So now that you have moved to Berlin, what made you decide to start your own poetry club?
Poetry Club it started in 2 ways. My book, Mostly Human, came out and I did a book reading in my favorite bar, as one does.
Hmm.
And we all sort of agreed that it was fun to do something different in the bar we were all at all the time anyway. And I'd been pitched at the time an idea of a quick turnaround short story anthology where a bunch of writers were given a theme and a time limit, and whatever we wrote, that was it. And that never took off, but I liked the idea. So I went, well, why don't we pick a topic, give ourselves a week, and whatever we come up with, and we just read each other these short stories or poems or whatever. And a week later, four people rocked up and we all had short stories that we'd written based on the topic. And it was sort of such a fun and wild thing that happened. We just kept doing it. And now it's been 10 years and we still do it.
That's great.
It's no longer weekly, thank God, but it was weekly for 5 years. So
Wow.
for 5 years, I wrote at least one short story a week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't keep it up.
I can imagine.
Like after a while, it became, I'd written sort of, what it was, 200 short stories in 5 years. I was like, I need to write something else. I need to not do this every Monday.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Now, does your day job that you have fit into your life as a writer at all? Does it inspire it? Does it feed your creativity?
My current day job isn't. I mean, I've got a couple of side projects, but they're all writing related. I'm very part-time working as a fiction editor for a publishing company and the lead narrative designer for a games company.
Yeah, I was
Um,
looking at that. That's a very cool game.
yeah,
Was it
and
Nexus 5X?
Nexus 5X, yeah, that was the game that came out. I was the principal story writer on that game. That was a lot of fun.
That's a cool game. I was checking that one out.
Oh, yeah, no. I loved working with those guys. It was a great company to work for. They were a cool bunch of people and such a fun project to be on. I'm currently sort of in stage three to work as a senior creative writer for another video game company, which would then be a full-time pure writing position, which is kind of a dream.
Hmm.
That would be a lot of fun. But I've always found that kind of writing for somebody else easy, but also because it's not my idea, it's sort of a different switch in my head.
Hmm.
So when I then go to write my own stuff, it's like, okay, then switch over to this side. And then it's like the two sections are very separated in my mind, which makes doing that work very easy.
I understand that. Whenever we moved to Europe, I did ghostwriting. And yeah, it's a totally different thing when you're writing projects for somebody else than when you're creating your own stuff.
Yeah.
Since you are doing work as a writer for video games, does that mean that whenever you go and buy video games, you can write them off as research?
I'd love to, but sadly, no. I think it's still entertainment.
Because I actually know a sci-fi writer who does that, that because she is researching sci-fi and storylines, she gets sci-fi video games as references.
I wish I knew how to write things off. I actually don't. Like, I'm very bad at the business side of things. I'm very good at the writing. That's about it. All of the rest of it, I just sort of wing it.
That's where accountants come in.
Yeah, if I could afford an accountant, if
Yeah.
I could afford anything these days.
Oh, God, I understand that.
I'm a full-time writer. I am so poor.
Yeah. Right now, just trying to come up with the money to buy a block of ISBNs. Have you checked that
I,
out in Germany yet?
oh no, I don't self-publish. The publishing house I work with is tiny. I think I'm the only author they actually work with, but still, it means I don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's good. I know one of the earliest books that you wrote was A Guy, a Girl, and a Voodoo Monkey Hand, which I really love the title of that. It's quite vivid.
Thanks.
What inspired that story?
Yeah, I wrote that when I was 19, and to me, it still reads like it was written by a 19-year-old. It it started originally as sort of emailing with a friend way back when, who kind of went, "I'm bored. Tell me a story." And I went, "I'll tell you the advent." And I was traveling around, and I was like, "I'll tell you the adventures of Jolly PI, a private investigator." And it really was like 5 or 6 really long emails of just nonsense I was making up at the time.
Hmm.
And then I kind of got to the end of all of that, and I'm like, if I put these together and maybe put a little bit more effort into it, I could get somewhere. And so I started sort of rewriting it from the beginning and then went through and kept going because it was so much fun to write. And by the end of it, I was like, I've got 75,000 words here. I've accidentally written a book.
Well,
And then sort of that idea of like, oh, ho, I can write a book. If I've done it once, I can do it again. There's sort of this sort of great sort of step forward in my mind of like, oh, wait, I can actually do this thing.
So you kind of became an author by accident.
Well, you kind of. I mean, it was something I always wanted to do and had been working at, but like the first sort of idea that went that far was very much inspired by just play, which I think is true of a lot of writing.
I know you have been credited with saying that that first book went through several rewrites between the first
Mhm.
draft and the final published version. How many rewrites do you think you actually went through on that one?
Well, at one point I had to change the name of the protagonist because I kept it Jolly PI until I finished the book and then went, I can't actually use my own name.
Hmm.
It took about 4 years before it was published, and I didn't write anything else in the meantime. So every time I sat down to write, I was just going over that book again and again and rewriting it and trying to make the jokes funny to other people, not just myself.
Yeah.
And but even then, like 4 years ago, I got in touch with a proofreader to go over that one again,
Hmm.
just to clean up the language again. So the latest version was updated, yeah, 3, 4 years ago.
Are you happy with the current final version?
I am. I can't really read my own stuff once it's published because I want to change it, and I can't really.
Oh, yeah. I think that happens to a lot of authors.
I mean, it's that thing of like, is it the best thing I've ever written? No. Is it the favorite thing I've ever written? No. If I could pick one book to get really famous, it still might be that one.
Thinking about that book, can you see how much your storytelling has evolved as a writer since that first book?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like any art form, inspiration or talent rather is in my head is the patience to spend a lot of time to get good at something.
Hmm.
And writing, like drawing, the more you practice, the better you get. And after just 10 years of Poetry Club, I can look back on things I wrote before Poetry Club and after Poetry Club and just go, this is chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
It is so different. So looking back, A Guy, a Girl, and the Voodoo Monkey Hand has a very special place in my heart. I don't think I could write a book like that again or now. I think
Hmm.
the way my brain is wired, I would automatically write that book completely differently.
Now, the book that we're actually focusing on today is Blurred Lines,
Yeah.
and I went and checked it out on Amazon. It doesn't have very many reviews, but you have 5 stars. You have 5 reviews, and each one of those is a 5-star review.
Yep.
How does that feel knowing that readers who reviewed your work clearly love it?
It's not a bad feeling, we're going to tell you that. No, I mean, blurred lines. Oof. Yeah, it's this funny thing. Like, I'm not a very famous author, but I'm somebody's favorite author,
Hmm.
and I know that because I've had people reach out and tell me, which is a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing people's reaction to Blurred Lines is great because it's a book I'm incredibly proud of. Like when I finished writing that book and read over it for the first time, I was like, oh, hey, look, I actually wrote the book that I had in my head when I started writing this book. And it's like being able to draw your exact imagination. Like it was an incredible moment of like, no, this is the book I had in my head when I started writing this book.
That's amazing because I know for me, a lot of times whenever I start something, the finished product is not even close to what I originally envisioned.
Yeah, right.
Because at some point, the characters take over in my head and go, your idea was cute, but we're not doing that. We're going to do this.
Right. That's been my experience with everything else I've ever written. But with this, it was like I had such a sort of a focused idea and I really liked the idea. And I sat with the idea for a long time before I even started writing it. And I always just every time I sort of glanced back in it in my head, I was like, I like that idea and I need to use it. I just can't do it right now because I'm working on 2 or 3 other things. And then yeah, wrote it all out and then sat down and read it. I'm like, wow, no, this is the book. This like I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
As an author living in Germany who writes primarily in English, do you find it harder to promote your books here?
I find it hard to promote my books everywhere, but no, like, I mean, I think maybe it's just because I created a writing community. I know a lot of people who are English speakers or at least speak English. So it's always been within that crowd quite easy to tell people about my books and promote my books. But, I'm not a widely successful, widely known author. So promotion has always been this thing that I've sort of tried, but never really known what I was doing.
Well, I know you also write across several genres. You write paranormal romance, psychological thrillers, you write fantasy. It often tends to be difficult for some authors whenever they do write across so many different genres. Have you noticed that it's hard to get a consistent readership with such a variety since you're not focusing just on like thrillers?
Yeah, I think Bait, my romance novel, is far and away my most successful book. I mean, it
Hmm.
doesn't have the most reviews, but oh, it's definitely had the most reads. And I definitely know that the Bait readers would like me to write more in that world. And I just really don't want to, but I mean, I do understand that if I focused in one spot like that, there is an audience sort of sitting there going, well, we'd love to read more of your stuff if you wrote this.
Hmm.
So there is sort of that. I know I'm doing myself no favors by writing within the genres that I do, but for me, it's always like I have the characters in my head and I like to take the genre that best tells their story rather than have the genre in my head and tell a story in that world. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. To me, it does. Now, I know you have a Patreon presence, and currently
Yep.
that is a way that you share a lot of your short stories. Do you plan to just keep them there, or do you also publish them in collections?
I've got two short story collections published to the Poetry Club Volume 1 and 2, because they're all Poetry Club stories. I originally had all of the stories, well, a lot of the stories that are on my Patreon were originally on a website of mine for free. And at a certain point, I insulted myself. It started to feel like the more I sort of had available for free for people to read, the less value people gave to my work because they're like, well,
Hmm.
there's so much for free. If he doesn't care, why should we?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true, but that's kind of how it felt. And that started to become a sort of a negativity in my own head. So well, if I don't put value to my work, I can't really expect other people to do that for me. And so I made the decision to just put most of it behind a paywall and just go, look, there's still 50, 60 short stories you can get for free. You can still go and buy the books. But also, if you like what I do and you want to support me and you want to have access to all of this stuff here, now you can.
And the truth is, I mean, people don't seem to realize a lot of times, even a short story can take hours to write and rewrite and get perfect. And that's time that you have spent that has value. It's work.
Yeah.
So many people think, oh, well, you're a writer. It's just creative. Why are you making people
You
pay
love
for
to
it?
do it,
Yeah.
so you get the joy out of the creating. And I'm like, yeah. And chefs love to cook. You still go and buy their food.
Exactly. It's like we still need to make money
Yeah.
because some of this stuff takes a lot of time to actually get. You have to pay for the website that it's on. You have to pay for your internet service to be able to access all of these things. We actually pay out a lot of money to do these things.
Oh, yeah. Proofreaders, cover designers, editors, personal time investment. I mean, you're asking somebody to dedicate months of their life for something that you're going to finish in a day and then go more. And
Yeah.
no, I'm not paying you for that.
So now why don't you go ahead and tell us about blurred lines?
Blurred lines. The elevator pitch for blurred lines is what if you could hear what people are thinking but had no control over that power? And it is this book about Miles who can hear what people are thinking but has no control. He can hear what everyone around him is thinking all the time. And I based that idea on social anxiety, that feeling where you feel like you can hear what people are thinking and they're all thinking about you and they're judging you and this overwhelming pressure of all of the potential eyes and minds directed at you. And while Miles knows that no one's really thinking about him because he can hear that people are just dealing with their own lives, I like that pressure and that presence and those ideas sort of push into his head and massively overwhelm him. And then doing the research on social anxiety, I learned about safety behavior, which is then the other side of that coin, where people become so crippled by their fear and so protective of themselves that the steps they take to prevent putting themselves in bad places becomes negative as well.
Hmm.
because they're locking themselves away and they're isolating themselves too much. And I thought, for somebody who really can't control this, that also makes sense. But it's a book, so there needs to be a plot line. So one day, while Miles is sort of trying to balance his behaviors, where he still goes to a grocery store rather than get stuff delivered, or, he still tries to put himself out there, he hears somebody screaming for help, but it's in his head. And he knows it's not like a normal thought, and he knows that this is something different. This is intense in a way I've very rarely felt before. And that means that I'm probably the only person in the world that knows that someone's in trouble. And now I have to wrestle with, what do I do with that knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
Do I pretend it didn't happen and go back to my little locked in cage and do nothing? Or do I try and find this person because I may be the only one that can? And it starts to break that pattern, and it doesn't break cleanly. Like, he decides he's going to do something about it, and that immediately starts sort of a downward spiral while putting himself in positions that he's super uncomfortable in. And yeah, because he can hear what people are thinking, it gives a wonderful ability because it's a very zoomed in book. It's very, very focused on Miles. But because he can hear what other people are thinking, you can do a bit of multi-perspective writing within the story, because you can go through Miles to pick up on other characters within the book, which was also then a lot of fun to write.
One thing that I thought was really interesting about this was just reading the synopsis, it made me feel uncomfortable. And that's exactly what I would want from a thriller,
Yeah.
Because I was sitting there thinking, okay, first of all, I can't even stand if somebody's trying to talk to me while the TV's on. It's too much noise. I can't focus. It gives me anxiety when that happens.
Yeah.
So the thought of all of these people around me and their thoughts coming in, it immediately just gave me a shiver.
And that's Miles all over. Like, the world is incredibly loud and overwhelming all the time.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's such a great premise that it just automatically gives you that uneasy feeling. And that is such a great thing for a thriller.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very zoomed in. You're stuck with this dude who's not okay, and that you're supposed to feel trapped a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, he's not a hero. He's barely functional.
But that's what makes him great as this character.
It was a lot of fun having him in my head for such a long time.
It's one of those things where it's like if somebody comes in and they're Superman and they go around saving people, it's not that impressive. He's Superman. He has all these powers. But when it's somebody who is troubled, and it's why Batman is so good, because he is troubled.
Yeah.
He's that anti-hero.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the kinds of characters that people can actually really identify with, because they see those handicaps within that same person.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm also a big Batman fan. And I remember very clearly sort of watching the animated series when I was younger, and the realization of Batman has chronic nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh no, there's nothing okay about this person.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
he's completely trauma driven.
Yeah.
He's not out there saving the world because he's a hero and he, has superpowers. It's because he's dealing with his own trauma and trying to save other people from that same trauma.
Yeah. Wildly broken human being. And so is Miles.
Yeah.
I did a lot of consultation with doctors and psychologists and stuff for this character, because I wanted it to be, I didn't want to like demonize therapy or like glorify therapy. And I remember the psychologist I was consulting with read the book at the end, and I'm like, what do you think? And she goes, it's very realistic in a way that I don't like. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, it's a book. I kind of want him to be completely better at the end, but that's not even nearly how life works. So I love it, but I still feel so bad for him. I'm like, perfect.
So that's the feeling you want.
Answer. Yeah. Like, he's definitely better than at the beginning of the book, but he's not fine. The book takes place over like 2 weeks. No one's fine after 2 weeks.
Yeah. Are you working on anything new now?
So in February last year, I decided to take the pressure off a bit. I mean, Miles is a hell of a book to write. And I'd done some other stuff. I'd done some fantasy stuff and, bait and stuff in between. But I wanted to take the pressure off a little bit, and I got into the idea of sort of the airport novel, book you pick up at an airport, and by the time you land, you finished it and you've had a good time reading.
Yeah.
So I set my mind that I was going to write the first draft of a book in February last year, and I did. And then I liked that so much that I decided to keep doing it. And then May I wrote book 2, and then I tried to write book 3 in August, and life happened, and then December, and life kept happening. But then I decided from February to February, made a nice circle in my head. So one day in February, I sat down and wrote 12,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a day. But it means in the last year, I've written this noir style, pulp fiction-y detective series,
Ooh, I love those.
or trilogy rather, which was just so much fun to write. I did like 4-page outlines on day one, and then just, which I don't usually do, and then just ran through and wrote these fun, sort of gritty, dark, character-driven first-person detective novels, sort of utilizing a little bit from A Guy, a Girl, and a Voodoo Monkey Hand, kind of all the same character names, but a very different kind of story. So it's still, A Guy, a Girl, and a Voodoo Monkey Hand is Jones PI, Frank Oslo, the police chief, who is a recurring character in all of my books, and Jones's secretary Ella, and like the desk sergeant in the police station. All of those are the characters from A Guy, a Girl, and a Voodoo Monkey Hand, which is sort of this comedy, tongue-in-cheek, slightly supernatural book. And now I've written this much more gritty, much more sort of down-to-earth detective series, which has been a lot of fun to write. But being me, they still sort of meander down some pretty dark alleyways.
I always love it whenever somebody takes one character, even if they write different genres, they take one character like a police chief or something and keep having them pop up in all of their books. That is like such a great little Easter egg to search for whenever you're reading people's work. I started out with writing historical fiction Westerns, and in the current book that I'm writing right now, I have this character sitting in the bath reading a book, and she's reading the first book in that series.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to do that too. I mean, at one point in Blurred Lines, Miles is in a coffee shop trying to hear what he can hear to try and find this person in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the voices is somebody reading Mostly Human.
Nice. What is the name of that series that you're talking about?
Oh, it's the working title is just Jones PI. They're all just on a shelf at the moment. I finished, like I said, they still need a lot of work. They're mostly first or second drafts. I finished the third one just in February, so I'm sort of giving myself a little bit of time to forget everything I've written, sort of step away from it all before I go back, because I know I'm going to have to go back to book 1 and go through all of them again. So I've also made myself a massive task to go through, not just do the read through of 1 book, but 3.
This is just a good incentive for anybody who's interested in that book to go and follow you on social media so they can keep an eye on you for when you do publish them.
Exactly. And then there'll finally be sort of one genre going out for a long time, because I've written 3 of them. But I wanted to do something that was fun to write and fun to read. But it's still me. I still have, by the 3rd book, Jones is kind of having a nervous breakdown because it's been 3 heavy cases in a row, and he's just like, oh, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
The 3rd one is much darker than the other 2. And then the 3rd one, a young police officer goes, how are you managing to deal with this? Because like I've been on this case for a week and my relationship's falling apart. I feel like I can't talk to anybody about this because we're not allowed to talk. I feel like I need help, but I don't know how to ask for it because I can't tell anybody about it. And he just goes, oh, I'm not okay. Don't be fooled. I'm like, I think the line is, when a heart gets broken and put back together enough times, some parts are just broken.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not okay. I'm just functional.
See, and I love characters like that you see them completely broken, but still going.
Yeah. And he just goes, no, you don't, you're not allowed to share case details, but you can tell your partner that you're not okay. They can still hug you and make you a cup of coffee and try and make you feel better.
Yeah.
Without you telling them what you're actually going through. Like, don't isolate yourself that way, because you don't want to be like me. I don't want to be like me.
So now seems like the perfect time to do our 5 quick questions that never turn out to be quick, but I hold out eternal hope that it'll happen one day. Are you ready?
Okay, let's go. Sure. I've done stand-up comedy. Let's go.
So question 1, The story-driven game Gabriel Knight helped inspire you to become a writer, and you later worked as a story writer on the game Nexus 5X. Do you play video games? And if so, which one do you play the most?
I do play video games, and at the moment, I play a lot of more casual games because I do it in between other things. So rather than being busy and diving in, or I don't have the week to play a very heavy story game. So at the moment, I'm playing a lot of Mario Kart and I'm
Hmm.
replaying Diablo 2 quite a lot because I can beat that in 2 solid days.
Oh, I like Diablo
Um,
too.
but I've got Clair Obscura and the Final Fantasy Rebirth sitting staring at me for the next time I'm so sick that I can't leave my couch for 2 weeks and I can just put it on and play through until the game is over.
Hmm. I used to have well, I still have them, all of the Batman video games, but
Uh,
finished them all, and I'm like, I want more of those.
there's a new one coming out.
Good.
Hmm. I'm very up to date with game news because I'm still technically working in the industry.
Hmm. So now question 2. You write in several genres, from paranormal romance, high fantasy, to dark psychological thrillers. Which genre is the easiest for you to write?
First person noir. I've always found sort of that detective voice lives rent free in my head, the sort of you know. So there I was standing under a street light trying to light my cigarette in the rain, wondering why I was standing in the rain.
Do you think that still goes back to Gabriel Knight influence?
I'd like to think so. I mean, it was kind of how it started. It was sort of the detective voice.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've always found that sort of flow of consciousness much quicker to write.
Question 3. You have lived in many different places around the world. Which one feels most like home to you?
I'd have to say Berlin because it's no one forces me to live here. So and that's sort of the choice I made. So I'm very happy and very comfortable living here. I know where everything is. I know how the city works, and I've got a lot of friends here. That being said, South Africa will always have a place in my heart, and there's always the home feel. And I lived in Edinburgh for a long time, and I've got that thing in my head of if I won the lottery, I'd always buy a place in Edinburgh so that I could always go back to Scotland.
Hmm. Question 4. What is one thing you found most surprising once you moved to Germany?
I find that the Germans and the Scots are kind of the same. They sound mean, but they're not.
Hmm.
I was standing on a train platform like week one into being here, and I watched a very, what you'd call sort of a conservative looking woman with a pram reaching the top of the stairs, and this hardcore East German punk dude, maybe 60 if he was a day, bright white mohawk, leather jacket, spikes, tattoos. And he gets to the top of the stairs and he's just like, "Oh, can I give you a hand?" And just
Hmm.
picks up the front of the pram, and she's not afraid of him. He's not angry at her. And they just have a little chat as they walk down the stairs. He says goodbye. She says thank you. They go one way.
Hmm.
He goes the other. And it's just, that's what you do. He wasn't being polite or he wasn't being nice. He was just, oh, we just helping somebody who needs a bit of help for 10 seconds because that's normal.
Hmm.
And that's sort of normalized. Just give a hand where you see somebody needs a hand. And I see it all the time still. That kind of struck me as, especially coming out of England where you don't talk to people you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You,
Here in Germany, it's like being back in Kansas. People smile at each other, they say hello. Everybody is friendly. I mean, they may sound gruff, they may not look like they're in a good mood, but they are, and they're
yeah,
friendly, and people talk to you. And it's like, yeah, I love that about here.
yeah, they're not being rude. German is a very direct language.
Hmm.
It's just, the inclinations for what is polite in German don't exist in English.
Hmm.
So the translation comes across very direct, but they're much nicer than they sound. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
just 4 days ago, I flew back from England and at the train station at the airport, waiting to get the train home, a guy from, I think, South Germany, by the sounds of him, had a little problem with the ticket machine. And I was standing there and I went, "Oh, where are you going? You need to go here." And "It's this ticket," basically, was all I said to him. And he was like, "Okay, cool, thank you." And a minute later, he taps me on the shoulder and went, "Here, I bought 2 tickets so you can get home too."
Oh. That's so nice.
Just like, oh, you helped me, so here. If you need a ticket, now you have one.
So now your last question is one that we are asking everyone this season because we're going to build a database that we're going to print in our year-end book buying guide, our Book Banter magazine that comes out for holiday shopping in November.
Cool.
So your question is, what book to movie adaptation do you think was the best that you have seen so far?
Dune.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically the Denis Villeneuve versions of Dune. It actually, like, the movie version is so good that it makes the book make more sense.
Now, that's praise.
Yeah, because I tried to read that book when I was 16 and gave up twice. And then tried again in my 20s and got through the first one. And I'm like, and then watched the movies and reread the book. I'm like, oh, I get it now.
That's something whenever the movie can actually make you love the books more.
Yeah, like I understand the slight variations from the book to the movie, but he's such a good visual storyteller. There's very little dialogue in that movie, if you actually go back and sort of think about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good at the visual aspects of what is such a densely written book that, the writing doesn't create a lot of pictures, but this movie provides them in such a way that I was like, oh, I get it now.
So now why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners again who you are and where they can find your work?
I'm D.I. Jolly. I'm the writer of Blurred Lines, as well as the award-winning Bait and several other things. You can find my books on Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, and in print on Amazon. You can also find over 300 short stories of mine on Patreon at patreon.com/D.I. Jolly. You can find me reading some of my short stories on YouTube, where I also post sometimes strange book ads because I find making stuff like that is kind of fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on most social media stuff, but not Twitter, mostly at D.I. Jolly. Or if you Google my name, you'll find me.
And as always, to make it very easy for everyone, we're going to put links to your social media in the description of today's podcast so everyone can just click and go, find your presence online, and go buy your books.
Cool. There'll be a link tree. That's the easiest way to do that.
So yeah, we like to make things easy for people.
Yeah.
This has been absolutely fabulous. You are so much fun to talk to. It's nice to have somebody who has a lot of the same references that I have.
Yeah, it's always nice to meet somebody you get along with.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This has also been my first sort of attempt at doing any sort of podcasting. So
Really?
thank you for making it so easy. Yeah.
Oh, that's always my goal. So there you have it, folks. My conversation with the multi-award winning author, D.I. Jolly. I really enjoyed this one. Blurred Lines raises some interesting questions about what we trust in our own minds. And I'm glad we got a chance to dig into all of that and more with him. And I really hope he will come back with his new noir series whenever that's ready, because that sounds like something I would personally love to read. Now, don't forget to come back next Wednesday when I'll be sharing my conversation with Sylvia Clare. I've actually known Sylvia for a while, at least virtually. She and I are in the same online memoir writers group, Memoir Mentors, on meetup.com. We talked about her latest memoir, Traveling the Alphabet Geographically. It's built around her goal of visiting at least one country for every letter of the alphabet, but it's a much bigger story, exploring personal growth, healing, and how travel shaped her life. And as always, there's more coming from Burkhart Books and Book Banter Productions, with new episodes and ongoing projects continuing to roll out. Currently, I'm actively working on several projects at once. I have started to set up the next issue of Book Banter magazine, which publishes in November for holiday shopping. This one will easily be the largest issue we have published so far, which is why I'm starting on it now. I've also begun recording videos for our media courses that will be available soon at burkhartbooks.com. These classes are designed to help authors, or actually anyone seeking to promote themselves and their work, to the media for promotional opportunities. I'm working on 2 books at the moment. I'm writing my medical memoir, Free Bed Haircut with Each Craniotomy, for which I hope to have a cover reveal coming very soon. And we'll also be publishing our first book from D.S. Stevens in our new paranormal romance Haunted Hearts series. Book 1 is Langston Watch Hotel, and we're looking at an October release date for that one. There's also a merch shop coming and so much more. I'm really busy behind the scenes. So you should be sure to sign up for our newsletter at burkhartbooks.com/subscribe so you can keep up with all of our updates, because there is so much coming from us. It's just, it's been really busy. And before we go, I want to give a quick shout out to Lynn Hugo, author of Mothers of Fate and several other titles. She recently supported us through our Buy Me a Coffee page, and we are truly thankful for her support. So please go check her out and let's support her right back. I think that is more than enough for today. So you know what that means. It's time for you all to go forth and be really happy. We have so much stuff coming out for you. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe to Book Banter with Diane Burkhart on your favorite podcast streaming service. Because if you love books like we do, you do not want to miss a single episode of this podcast.